The pandemic really forced us outside of our comfort zone.
Make sure you know what you're doing as well. You are dealing with not only your money in this case, but other people's money. So get educated, find somebody that you know, like, and trust that's been there that can show you how to do it properly. Make sure you have that exit strategy where you can show people how you can pay them back.
We used an investor-focused real estate agent in Costa Rica who, once we explained the concepts to them, once they understood, they were on board, they were able to re-explain it to the sellers and see, or to the other agents to see if it was a possibility.
It's where we show people how to buy properties using their own money and no joint venture partners. And there's a variety of tools for them, including my cash flow matrix, for example, with the exit strategy. And
welcome everyone on another episode for Real Estate Conversations with Harsh, a podcast for investors by investors. Here we introduce you to expert investors in the Canadian market. And today we have well-known real estate investors, authors, speakers, and mentors who have acquired 240 plus apartments, not only in Canada, but various other countries such as the US, Mexico, the Dominican, and they didn't stop and they went to Costa Rica as well. What fascinates me is their strategy that is the out of the box, which involves purchasing properties without using your own money, relying on joint ventures, and the fascinating part is that owning and retaining the 100% ownership and benefit of the equity, cash flow, and appreciation. So we'd like to welcome Melanie and Dave Dupas, more known as investor Mel and Dave in the industry. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having us. It's great to see you again, Harsh.
Thank you. And so we'd like to begin with your story, like what brought you into real estate, what were you doing before real estate, and now since like 240 apartments, it's not a small thing, right? And now you also run the Action family, right? With I think 5,000 or 6,000 members in there. So we'd like to know more and in detail for our audience.
Thanks so much for having us. Yes, Dave and I, we first got started. When I met Dave, I had two properties. Dave had the one building as well. And we knew that with real estate, it would be a game changer in our future. So we did the traditional buy property, wait a couple of years to refinance it. Working all the time. Dave was a full-time firefighter. I was, plus he was a part-time janitor and teacher's aide, and we're working all the time. And I was working full-time at our local college. I was also teaching part-time fitness classes and educational classes as well. So working all the time, barely getting further ahead. And then in 2017, we read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and it was a complete mind shift for us. Although it didn't show us how to do it, it definitely changed our ways. Like, we're working all the time, we're barely getting further ahead. And that's when we decided to use creative financing to grow our portfolio. But everybody was telling us you need a joint venture partner and you need syndications to grow your portfolio. And we thought, well, there has to be a different way where we can still be the sole owners. So we did a lot of research, and that's when we, after doing a lot of research with different ways like using secured funds, promissory notes, vendor takebacks, that's when we really grew our portfolio. So the following year, we bought 12 properties, multifamily properties, in less than 12 months. That was 56 units. That enabled me to quit my full-time job, which was pretty neat. I quit the next year. And then the Action family kind of came afterwards as well. So we actually have over 1,800 students as part of our Action family community. But I never thought about becoming a coach. In fact, I wanted to keep this all to myself. I wasn't telling anybody. I was not on Instagram and Facebook like we are now. And it was actually a life-changing car crash. It was a really bad car crash that we were in that changed everything. Where it was in 2018. We were on our way to a real estate investing conference. And it was just in Vaughan, so just before Canada's Wonderland. I'm sure you know the area. It was caused by a careless transport driver. He hit a vehicle that hit us. We rolled 4 times across the highway. We landed upside down, and they can't believe that we actually survived the crash because it was just such a horrific crash. But we did, and that was that moment that changed everything in our lives. Before I was scared to leave my job, but it gave me the realization that I wanted to, and I could, only because I had already purchased real estate. And it was also, why are we not helping other people do this as well, because, there's nothing special about Dave and I here. We took action, got educated in mistakes, learned, and kept going. And that's when we founded the Action Family Mentoring Program.
Wow.
I probably took a little bit too much away. I don't know if I left anything for you, Dave.
I don't think there's anything left to say. Yeah, you hit it out of the park.
It's the Mel alone show, right?
Whatever works.
Yeah, whatever works.
Wow. And now you're in like 4 countries, Mexico, the Costa Rica, the Dominican, the US, and Canada. So 5. And you own apartment units in all the countries, right? You started with Canada and now you moved on like recently to these countries, or you just went all out everywhere to get all together?
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked that, Harsh. The pandemic really forced us outside of our comfort zone. It was always in our wants and desires to start investing in different countries. But yeah, pandemic definitely pushed that to the forefront. So US, we're currently investing in Texas and in Florida. Most recent, we've got a deal under contract in Ohio. Actually, yesterday we were talking with the attorneys, creating the new LLC for the new Ohio purchase. So definitely in North America, the focus is the multifamily.
Yes.
In Costa Rica, Mexico, Dominican, it's been short-term rental. So still other people's money, creative financing. More on the, again, forcing us outside of our comfort zone, the short-term rental side of that business. It's been working well. And what I love, again, it's creative financing. Like it's seller financing in Costa Rica.
Negotiating went the same way as we would in our city. And that's the thing.
Wow.
Once you know how to do it and your confidence grows over time, of course, you're able to not only invest where returns are best, but go into areas and really diversify your portfolio. And especially in these different countries, Dave and I, as I'm sure you know, Harsh, we love traveling.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And we're able to go there on vacation and get a check up on our properties, right? So
yeah, that's you can obviously, you can check on those properties while on vacation, which is really good. So for the seller financing or the VTB part, now was it difficult for, like, I know Canada and the US, it's pretty common, they understand seller take back and vendor take back, but in like other countries, Costa Rica, the Dominican, they understand the VTB part. Was it a challenge, or it's just an opportunity that they didn't realize and you helped them realize the power of vendor take back?
A little bit of all of what you just said, Harsh. So we used an investor-focused real estate agent in Costa Rica who, once we explained the concepts to them, once they understood, they were on board, they were able to re-explain it to the sellers and see, or to the other agents, to see if it was a possibility.
Yes.
The one that we actually spoke at the conference that you and I met, or the 3 of us met at, was that one we sold it in April or May of 2023. And the owner was actually, we never met the owner. The owner was in like Sweden or Switzerland. I forget exactly where it is. So everything was done through the Costa Rican real estate agents and obviously the lawyers and attorneys. Same thing. Currently, right now, we've got a casa, another house under contract. We thought at first we were going to do seller financing, right? Our favorite, not our only, but our favorite. And now we're looking at doing kind of an option, right? So almost like a wrap mortgage or almost a rent own. So it's under negotiations with the lawyers, and they're trying to draft up agreements to make it all work. So as long as you're open to it, as long as the deal makes sense and you have the negotiating skills to do it, there's a lot of different opportunities or avenues to buy real estate creatively.
Yeah, essentially doing the same thing we're doing here. It's having the same conversation. It's I have behind Dave the big exit strategy, right?
Oh yes, that's a nice sign. Yeah,
exit sign, right? You need to know how to exit the deal, meaning when it's time to refinance or pay back that lender, whether it's self-financing or promissory note, doesn't matter. You need that exit strategy, being able to show that. We use our cash flow matrix for that, for example. So it was the same tools though that we would in Canada, and then we applied in Mexico and in different areas as well. It is repetitive. And sometimes even in Canada, some people will say, well, I don't know what a seller financing is and why should I do that? I don't know Mel, right? So it's just being able to explain why they should do it, how it benefits them. And of course, making sure that you have a clear exit strategy, both for yourself and for the other person as well.
Wow. And in terms of purchasing real estate, you find it more convenient there as compared to Canada or the US, or it's a little bit challenging, time consuming? Because you are here, right? You
Yeah.
like I assume that you don't go there every time you purchase a property.
No.
Even
No.
though that would be a good thing because
Unless it's winter, right?
The
Yeah,
kids
unless it's
just-
January in Canada. Yeah,
Kids
Yes.
still way too many activities to go all the time, but yeah.
Yes.
honestly, I love that you asked that, Harsh. We're still looking in Canada. Like, and that's the thing. You can make money in every single province, whether it's landlord friendly or tenant friendly. We're putting a lot more attention in Alberta, just because
Yes.
it is more landlord friendly. There's no land transfer tax. There's still a fee, but there's no land transfer tax like we have here. Doing some negotiating a couple of deals right now.
Yes.
The thing with the States, honestly, again, it's the same process, same due diligence. What I love about the US, so why we're in Texas and Florida, Ohio, they are landlord friendly states, and we're making USD dollars, right? Same with Costa Rica,
Yes.
go Dominican, you start making those USD dollars. So yeah, very attractive. Like the purchase price, you can buy things in Ohio, even in Texas, sometimes 80, $60,000 to $80,000 a door. They
Wow.
cash flow. It's anyway, I'm not saying
Yes.
in Canada. It's just there's a lot of different opportunities all over the place.
Yeah, and what I'd add on to that, I mean, we still have tons of properties here in Ontario, and I think what I would want to add on to this is that, especially for new investors, is that you can't go wrong with buying properties, especially if you're doing your due diligence and whatnot, right? It will go up over time. Everybody always says invest where returns are best, and of course I say that as well. However, most importantly, invest. And if
Yes.
your comfort zone is in your backyard to get started, like it
Yes.
was for myself, then and that's okay. Do that for now. And after you build your confidence, then maybe you'll start diversify. A lot of our students do that, right? They'll start in their area, and then they'll go in different provinces and states, and then they'll go in different countries. I mean, some students or some individuals or investors are comfortable from day one. But if that's not you, don't let that be your roadblock that I'm not going to invest because it's not close to my home either.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yes, investing is that matters. Rest everything, I think this just falls in place, right?
Exactly.
Yes, but buying a property in Costa Rica, is it easy? Like it takes time, or it's like 1 to 2 months, similar like 60 to 90 days, or sometimes I've heard like, but that's for a mortgage. When people take mortgages there, that it takes somewhere around like 6 to 8 months sometimes, just for the mortgage, because people have a laid back attitude in Costa Rica, which is
Pure vida.
Yeah. In our experience, it has not been that long, just to be honest. But we've been using seller financing and creative financing from Canada and the US, right, as our like promissory notes for our down payment. So for our past couple of deals, it's been probably like 2 to 3 months. Even when we sold our last place in Costa Rica, I think it was it was less than 2 months closing after everything. So not that long, just to be honest with you. Now, that being said, our first time purchasing there, we still had to create, our entities to make sure that we were purchasing the correct way. So it did take a little bit longer the first time around. The thing I love about Costa Rica is kind of like Canada and the US, right? Like for lack of better wording, our democracy, our politics we're very, very parallel. The security and all that is very parallel to Canada and the US. We don't have a tax treaty with them. Canada and the US do not have a tax treaty with them like we do with Mexico. But that doesn't change anything. But the process itself, just like a Canadian buying in the US, the first deal is a little bit more cumbersome because you're creating LLCs, you're making sure you're covered as a Canadian for double taxation. But once the groundwork is laid out and that path is there, and to not reestablish, but to redo, for lack of better wording, our deals like this one, as soon as the lawyers draft up the agreement that is going to make sense to everyone, we've got a couple of people in Canada that have the funds ready to deploy, and we'll be closing in a couple of months. But I won't lie, I love that you said that, Harsh. Some of the real estate agents that we do deal with there, they're like, oh yeah, no rush. Like for them, a four-day turnaround on a simple answer sometimes is like, oh, it was hot today, everyone went home. So it's a little bit not as quick as, let's say, North America. We're a little bit more.
What do you mean I don't have a response yet?
Yeah, there is some of that. Pura vida.
Absolutely. Okay, so now coming to your creative strategies, which is actually fascinating quite a bit, because not getting any mortgages, just using other people's money and combining it with vendor takebacks or promissory notes and all those kind of things, right? And funding the deal and then retaining that 100% equity, I guess, after the refi and everything, right? Or after you do the BRRRR complete. So on that strategy, what are some of the tips if you'd like to give someone who, like, normally people take mortgages, right? But someone who does not want to take mortgages? I know it comes down to negotiation, but any good tips for, let's say, newbie investors?
I love that question, Harsh, because this is something. So if you're a newbie investor, or if you've been investing and you're thinking, okay, they talk about creative financing, like it's so easy. And I feel like I'm hitting my head up against a wall because everywhere I go is a roadblock, or someone's closing the door, or someone's saying no. So right off the hop, to everyone that's listening, honestly, you have to be dealing with investor focused people. Okay. Yes, it works. It works all throughout Canada. It works all throughout the US. Don't let people say it doesn't work here, or you can't do that here. That is just not true. Okay. So
it's a red flag if somebody says, if a lawyer says, and we've gone as well, where a lawyer said, you can't do that. Like, yes, you can. It's legal. They just haven't done promissory notes, for example.
And they're not, again, there's nothing wrong. It's just they don't know what they don't know. So what I would say is deal with investor focused people. Now, we do still utilize mortgages in the beginning as well. It'll just need to be an investor or a mortgage broker that has contacts or leads or institutions that will allow for it. For example, a second mortgage behind up to a certain loan to value. Don't go knocking on the big five's door. It's going to be a waste of time, right? But then you can go to them for the refinance. So that would be my tip: is deal with investor focused people that understand it. Again, if people say it doesn't work here, it doesn't mean that they're being malicious or anything. It just means they don't know what they don't know. But don't let that would be my first tip: is investor focused people. The second tip for me, and I know you'll want to pipe in, Mel, is it's just don't let the naysayers say that you can't do that, or that you can't scale that way, because it's just not true.
Yeah, and I'd probably add that it's do a few things. I mean, number one, you're going to have hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Most of us end up with millions, of course, in real estate as we scale our portfolios. Make sure you know what you're doing as well. You are dealing with not only your money in this case, but other people's money. So get educated, find somebody that like and trust, that's been there, that can show you how to do it properly. Make sure you have that exit strategy where you can show people how you can pay them back. And also, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, people might see us and say, oh, well, it's easy for Mel and Dave. They have lots of profit. Well, we had our first deal as well. We had our first owner finance deal. We had our first deal where we used somebody's RSPs or secured funds, for example, right? So, and guess what? In between all those, not everybody said yes to us. We got used to some no's. Having no's is completely okay. It's just not a good fit for them at that time. We've had some people where they said, no, I'm not presently interested in Mel. I'm like, okay, no problem. And of course, I'll keep them in my database, and fast forward to 6 months or a year, and I reach out to them and something changed. And now they understand that, okay, now I really am ready to, to lend you money, for example. So be okay with getting no's. It's really not about you. It might just not be a good fit. And if you get a no on a property, that's amazing. That's where you don't stop. If the owner's not willing, if I find a perfect building, it cash flows, I have my exit strategy, my pillars make sense, and the owner is just not willing to hold financing for whatever personal reason, that's completely fine. But I'm not going to let go of an amazing deal. I'm going to go find some secured funds. I'm going to go find a promissory note so I can close on the deal. So just know as well, there are different ways of getting that funding.
Okay, and now coming to that capital raising part, where we use other people's money, and regardless of what it is, right, except the vendor take back, but like using other people's money nowadays because of the interest rate environment and what is going on in the market, how are you finding the response right now from your investors? Like, are people happy to put in money, or it's like how good is the market? How bad is the market? Is it really strained, or like people are open?
Yes, I love that. What I'm seeing, a lot of people with registered funds. So, someone's wondering what does that mean in the beginning, right? So for Canada, it's RRSPs, TFSAs, LIRAs, and in the States, it's 401k, Roth IRAs. So you can use other people's to actually do mortgages for you on real estate. I know, Harsh, you obviously know this, but I'm just kind of talking to those first listeners, or those newbies. I remember when I heard that, I was like, what? You can use someone's registered funds as a mortgage? Yes. And I'm oversimplifying here, but with those individuals who have registered funds, which a lot of people have RSPs, right? And they're not happy with the returns, or they're just not seeing the return from, if it's a financial planner or whatever it is. I'm seeing a lot of those individuals now that have not gotten the returns that they want, and they are more likely to want to have it into real estate. Because what I love about this is when we show them the deal. So for example, we're showing them deals that for in Alberta, let's use this examples. We're showing them deals in Alberta. We're looking at is it 21 or 23 plex right now? Doesn't matter. But I'm showing them the deal in the cash flow analysis matrix, showing them the return. They actually get to pick the deal that they are investing in and putting a mortgage on. So they love it because here's the piece of real estate you're investing in, right? You're going to put, in this example, it's going to be a second mortgage on it. So they get to approve the deal, approve the building, approve the financing terms and all that. Yes. And it's a guaranteed, right? And it's secured by real estate. Whereas, and you know this, Harsh, but I'm just talking to the listeners. It's not putting it in, and I'm not a stock guy. It's not putting it into, what do they call mutual funds? Yes. That's invested in 50 or what, I don't know how that works. I'm just not my lane. And hoping that you get X amount of return. This is a predetermined rate. It's backed by real estate. They get to pick the real estate deal. So honestly, I'm seeing more and more, or both of us are seeing more and more of people with registered funds looking to do deals. And because they don't need that money till they're 65, or they're typically going to do a longer let's say 3 or 5 year term with you, they are very flexible because it's not coming to them anyway. They're not getting the cash flow in their pockets that month. So I'm seeing the terms very, very flexible, doing balloon payments, being creative on the interest. So honestly, Mel and I are seeing a huge influx in people wanting to lend out their registered funds for all those reasons.
Oh, wow, which is great news for everyone who's listening. So just find the right people, and you should not have any problems, because otherwise, other than the registered funds, I've heard that the market is a little strained and it's a little hard for people to put money in right now because there is a little less trust everywhere because of the interest rates, right?
Yeah, and self-financing as well, right? For that reason as well, is that if people aren't willing to, or not able to sell their house because less people are purchasing, because of the rates, well, I've had some seller financing. I just want to sell my property, so I'll do it at 3% or 2% or 5%. It benefits me from a capital gains perspective. I'm still getting interest. I can put the rest of my money to work elsewhere. So it's just that domino effect. And it's just it's having conversations. It's being willing to accept no's, and knowing how to negotiate as well. With negotiations, we often get asked, how do you structure your deals, Mel? And it's like, well, every single deal that I have looks different based on the performance of the property itself, of course, and also what the lender needed to, and what I needed to make sure the deal makes sense. Wow, that's a great piece of advice. Thank you. For now, like in Canada, and I'm specifically talking about Canada, I know you're focused in Alberta, but have you completely stopped looking in Ontario, or you're still looking at certain cities in Ontario? And if yes, then which cities are you currently targeting in Ontario?
So and I love that you said that. We have not stopped looking in Ontario. I'll look at deals anywhere. Like we look at deals all over the place. And then the deals that we don't end up closing on, we basically post them in the action family as well. But for example, we've looked at cottages, right? Some waterfront properties. Most recently, I've looked at a couple of sixplexes out east. There was one. We're in Northern Ontario, so obviously we're a little bit biased, right? Like the North Bays and the Sudburys, and so we still look at deals there. And that's the thing. So if you're, and Mel had touched on this earlier, if you're listening to this and you're saying, I'm living in Ontario and I absolutely want to invest in Ontario, there's still tons of money to be made. There's still tons of deals, so don't let it push you towards another province. If you do want to, that's awesome. But again, there's tons of money to be made in Ontario.
You're running your numbers, right? And it's like, it's not as landlord friendly as different provinces. And well, it's like, I always say, it's like Walmart, right? Just because people will steal and will break items from Walmart, it doesn't mean that Walmart is shut down. They have systems and procedures in place for those things, try to minimize the frequency, while also having that part of their ratios. And they know that X% will probably be missing by the end of the year from it.
No, and I completely agree, because it does not matter. Like what I have seen is it does not really matter where the money is coming from, and the money will definitely come if the deal is strong, right? The deal is where I think it matters the most. That's a good piece of info. Now let's talk a little bit about the Action Family. What do you guys do there? And like I know that's you're close to 2,000 members, like active students right now, but I think your Facebook group is around like 5,000 people or something.
I have over 500K or there's somewhere over all social media, but that's more public. But no, inside the Action Family community itself, we have 1,800 students within the actual community that we coach, that we mentor. And yeah, so the Action Family, what's the Action Family? It's where we show people how to buy properties using their own money and no joint venture partners. And there's, a variety of tools for them, including, my cash flow matrix, for example, with the exit strategy, and my due diligence list conditions. We show you how to do creative financing and, everything else in between. And then there's questions with Dave and I on a daily basis. You're not paired off with somebody else, so you are getting us directly inside the community. And Dave does a weekly live session as well with the Action Family. And then they get a bonus group where it's with all the action takers together as well. There's deals that you won't see anywhere else. We post deals inside the Action Family. Other students do as well. Some people lend money to other students inside the program. Some people do Zoom meetups. Some people do live meetups. So, it's very, very, it's a very active community. There's posts every single day. And I love them. I'm a very proud founder of the Action Family. They're amazing.
It is a moment to be proud of, like for the Action Family, and getting 1,800 students, which are like active students, is really, really good, right? So, and I guess what you're doing there is sharing your experience and strategies, what you know, so everyone else knows, so they can now go ahead in the market and use your strategies and come from your experience and then do deals in the market as investors. So, which is a good thing, I would say, which is a wise thing as well, that you're promoting other investors, right? And I know that there are many other communities as well who do that, but it's great that you're doing that and what you have accomplished. And I would say like in less than 6 years.
Yeah, it was after the car crash. Again, at first, we did not want to share this with anyone.
Yes.
We never thought we'd be coaching.
Yeah, and it kind of came afterwards. So yeah, so it was after the car crash.
That's tremendous. You're able to make back, and you're here now where you have 1,800 active students from a car crash. Like it really gives goosebumps, right?
Well, thank you.
Which is Yeah.
We often say it was the worst day or one of our worst days of our lives, but it was also a blessing, or maybe we chose to, we always have choices in life. We chose to make it into something really positive. But appreciate your nice compliments. Thank you.
Oh no, I've been through the same night, but not the accident, but I went through the COVID, and it was really a horrible experience for me because it was like at the time when there was no vaccine. The vaccines were not done, and I got COVID. I was really severely infected, and I was in hospital in ICU, and that really changed my trajectory in life. Where now it's a different thing altogether, right? Because everything comes like, oh my God, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Okay, let's do that now. Right?
I'm glad you're here, and look at you being here and helping other people through your podcast as well. So congratulations to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and I'm glad you shared your story here because this is podcast is for the investors by investors, and we get all the industry experts here. We try to get all the industry experts and get them here. We'll also be getting some mortgage experts soon, and we'll be in conversations again soon. So I'm out of questions. If there is anyone on the live that has any question that you want to check, and we can answer probably that.
And we'll say this as well. If ever you, I know that there's a lot of information, and it may sound a little bit gray to everyone, or too much information, or Mel, this sounds really good, but I don't know how to structure the deal. If they DM us we're always on social media, of course, Investor Mel Dave on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. If they DM us, we'll give them a free masterclass as well, where we kind of break down things. If you're visual like I am, I need to see something on paper. So we'll actually share a screen and we'll show you some numbers as well. So if anybody wants to see those numbers, just send us a DM on social media. Biggest mistake that we've made was, there's so many. One of them was our big, so many, right? It's about learning from your mistakes as well. Our business structure was completely wrong. That cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars. Again, you don't know what you don't know. So not having your structure properly, and another mistake would probably be not doing creative financing as early, right? We'd have been able to retire even sooner, type of thing. So being open to doing it even sooner.
Any other questions?
James here, how do you find investors. And then she explained, here we go, how to find investors. I want you to think a bigger picture. If you're driving around your city, whether you're in Ontario or in the States or in Europe, I see people here from Europe, have this mindset. Every single building that you see, the owners of the building or the owner of the building might be a private lender for you. So right there, your pool of lenders just opened up to so many more people. So remember that as number one. And then honestly, it is making it a win-win. So how do you make it a win-win? Well, spend more time listening than talking. Ask them questions. And what is important to you, Mr. Seller? Well, I don't want to sell my building right away because of capital gains. It makes more sense if I wait for next year, for example. Okay, well, I can work with that. And, so you really listen to what they need and adjust accordingly. Maybe what's important to them is a bigger interest rate at the end. Well, you can do balloon strategies. Maybe for them, it's I need you to buy 2 of my buildings and, have that under contract in different ways. So just really pay attention, ask them questions and negotiate accordingly, because again, you do want them to win and don't think too small. Like that was one of our mistakes at first, where we were negotiating and saying, no, I'm not paying you that extra $10,000 on your building because I want to keep that for myself. Well, I missed out on the deal that could have made me $200K moving forward in a couple of years over time. Like, am I really further ahead to have saved that $10K? No, that cost me a lot of money. From just not thinking bigger. So always remember that as well. Yes, the deal needs to make sense. Yes, you need to have your exit strategy as well. And if you do, then, be willing. It's okay if other people makes money too. Like some of our lenders, they'll message us and they'll say, hey, I was able to take, my kids on a trip for the first time, or I was able to build a deck or get my hot dog. But, and that's great. That's amazing. And hey, and I'm win-win. And I'm happy. I bought a property that makes me money every month, that appreciates over time. Let's do it again. Let's keep winning together.
Absolutely. And people, for more questions, we would be posting all the social handles for Mel and Dave and their website. You can go there, DM them, and log into their website, put your email in, be in touch with them, and be a part of the Action family. And there you'll learn everything more in a much deeper way than just like a 2-minute answer. It's actually not 2 minutes because it takes a lot of time to understand and pitch the investors different ways. So for everything that you want to understand, do go to their website, attend their webinars, and be a part of the Action family.
Awesome.
Thank
you so much for having us on.
Thank you so much. It was really nice and pleasure connecting with you.
Thank you so much.